and welcome to Tiny Table Talk for the Challenge World Championships episode 9. We're actually going to be talking about future episodes and where we see the trajectory of the season going now that we have only 6 teams left. We're also going to hand out some MVPs and LVP awards and get to some comments from my Thursday's review and recap video. So with having to get through all of that, let's waste no time jumping in, starting with... Now this is an interesting dilemma with only 6 teams left because there are no layups with these teams. These 6 teams left are stacked to the brim with talent, with physicality, with strength, and it's going to come down to who wins into power each week and who is going directly into elimination each week. The way I view this season with the 6 teams that are left, I see the game broken into like 3 different sections, starting with 3 teams that I have at the nucleus. And what I mean by the nucleus, I mean that these are the 3 teams in the middle of everything, and I don't see these 3 teams saying each other's names to try to vote each other into elimination. And the 3 teams I'm talking about are Danny and Tori, Sarah and Theo, and Jordan and Kaz. And I know that Danny and Sarah were hell-bent on getting Jordan sent into elimination this whole season. However, because of how the game has kind of progressed and how we've gotten to this point with the 6 teams that are left, I mean, numbers are coming at a very valuable price. This is the point where you can't send any team that you have locked in your back pocket into elimination just for the hell of it. And because of how good of a moderator Jordan was just last week, where he was able to get Danny and Tori on the same page, Sarah was laughing with everybody in the room and they're signing the contract, it just feels like they're so connected with each other at this point that there's no way they're going to try to vote 1 or 2 of each other into elimination. Now, the other 3 teams are not a part of the nucleus, but 2 teams are very heavily connected to the nucleus, though on opposite ends. You have Casey and Troy, Emily and Yes. Casey is connected more so through her bonds with Jordan and Tori. Jordan has voted for Casey to go into elimination at one point during the season, and I think if push comes to shove, if it came down to it and Tori had to choose between Casey and Jordan, she probably would vote for herself at this point. Last 2 weeks, she's voted for herself 3 times out of 2 episodes. But I think if it came down to it, she would say Casey's name before she says Jordan's name. And realistically, I think it's the same thing over on the other side of this with Emily and Yes, where she is heavily connected with Sarah and Danny, and they have been working with each other throughout this whole season. But if it came down to it, I think that they would be ample enough to send in Emily and Yes way more than they would send each other. And then because I think Theo and Tori would be like stonewalling them if they did try to say, what if we threw in Jordan and Kaz, that would not be a compromise. They would try to compromise in saying like, yes, you know Emily from this season, but you're not very connected like we are with, say, Jordan, whom we've known for years. I mean, how long have Sarah and Danny tried to get Jordan and Kaz sent into elimination, and it was just like week after week after week, it was just not going to happen. And then unfortunately, how I see it, Darrell and Kiki are kind of in no man's land at the end of the day. They are a really strong team. They've won a daily challenge. They've won an elimination at this point. Kiki has won 2 eliminations on the season. However, when we take a look at their numbers and who they are affiliated with, it kind of gets a little bit murky because Darrell and Kiki have worked with Emily and Yes, as well as Casey and Troy. Well, at least Troy at this point. But with Amber gone and Troy now connected to Casey, as well as Darrell and Kiki have kind of taken shots at Casey and Troy back in the trivia challenge that kind of made them feel like they were blindsided when they threw strikes at them to pull the ripcords. That could have muddied things up between them, as well as Emily and Yes, whom Emily and Yes have voted for Darrell and Kiki, I think a couple of times now at the end of the day, when Darrell on the Challenge Official podcast had said that he thought coming into the game, him and Yes had this connection with each other through the All-Stars, but on reflection, Darrell said that Yes really catered his game to whatever Emily wanted. And so for team camaraderie, as well as wanting to win, Yes did what Emily wanted to do, where Darrell felt like Yes and him were not really connected as strongly as he thought. So with that being the case, I feel like Darrell and Kiki are now going to be the default team that if they're not going directly into elimination, or if they don't win into power, they will be the team voted in. It's tough. I feel like it's that predictable. So if I were to rank them in the sense of hierarchy and power rankings of the season, moving forward to the next episode and possibly the rest of the time there, I think sadly Darrell and Kiki are at number 6. Then I would say Emily and Yes are in 4th because of the contract that was signed. I don't know if everybody's going to keep to their word about sending them into the next elimination, but because they signed the contract, I have to put them at number 5. Number 4 is going to be Troy and Casey. And do we really need to talk about the other 3? I guess Sarah and Theo at number 3, Jordan and Kaz at number 2, and Danny and Tori at number 1. I put Danny and Tori at number 1 because I think they're covered on all sides. They really have nothing to worry about. They're a really strong team, and it seems like now they're on the same page. And that's, I think, was the biggest hindrance to them, is them not being on the same page. Politically, socially, whatever. They were just not seeing eye to eye with each other. And after this episode, they had a conversation. Jordan was the moderator, and it just seems like everything is fitting into place for them at the right moment. It's coming together at the very end of the season, right before the finals. And so that's where my hierarchy is. But what do you think about my analysis of the last 6 teams, where they sit with each other, how the game is set up? Do you agree with me, or do you disagree with me? Let me know down in the comment section below. Who would you like to see win the next daily challenge, and how would you think that they would be able to shake it up? Let me know that down in the comment section as well. Now, let's move on to the MVPs and the LVP awards. All right, let's hand out some MVP and LVP awards, and let's start off with the MVP awards. And I'm first going to give an award to Kiki, who won her 2nd elimination of the season. She is crushing it. She did great in the Challenge Australia. She is undefeated in her elimination records, and it's not just like 1 or 2 eliminations. She's done quite a few eliminations, and she's proven that she is a very strong competitor. She should not be slept on, and she is doing a fantastic job. And I have to give the other MVP award to, I would say, Jordan. Jordan, the last 2 seasons, have done some incredible feats. One, in the Challenge 38, he did the impossible in getting Anissa to the finals. And then this season, he was able to do what some think is impossible, or was impossible, and that was to get Danny and Tori on the same page and be the moderator. I mean, who would have thought Jordan, who was enemy number 1, got everybody on the same page? Everybody was laughing, joking around. The only thing I will say is that I am not a huge fan of what it seems to be the teamwork between him and Kaz from this episode to next episode, and that leads into the LVP awards. And I have to say that the LVPs are the actual UK contestants of Kaz and Tristan. I mean, Tristan is getting, I wouldn't say blindsided, because I think he knew in the bottom of his heart that if it was him and Kellyanne going up against Danny and Tori, that Jordan would never say Tori's name, and had an inkling, or more of an inkling, that he was going to go into elimination this past week. But I think he was really holding out hope that, hey, me and Kaz had that conversation, that she would not send me in unless she would tell me first and give me a heads up. So I think he was holding out hope that, oh, she didn't talk to me, she didn't give me a heads up, so I'm probably not going to go in, hopefully. And then it was his birthday, he gets sent in, kind of blindsided, and eliminated on his birthday. Not a great way to go out. Kaz, I think, is an LVP for not having that conversation with Tristan beforehand, as well as you just worry. You worry about the momentum. They won the daily challenge. They should be happy. Kaz should be happy getting a win in this game, this late in the game. However, I think she was more distraught than ever, and taking that into the next week because she is frustrated with how her and Jordan's teamwork is going to be affected by Jordan coming up with this plan to send Kellyanne and Tristan into elimination this week, and now Kaz doesn't know if she can trust Jordan moving forward. I hate to give it to Kaz, but Kaz really had a bad week, despite winning safety, winning into power, but then having to kind of get cornered into using that power to send in a good friend, and then being worried about the confrontation of having that conversation with Tristan that she didn't say anything at all, which is not a good way to go about it. So what do you think about my picks? Let me know down in the comment section below. Do you agree with me or do you disagree with me? And if you disagree, who would you give MVP and LVP of the week to? Let me know down in the comment section below. Now let's get into the comment section. And the first comment comes from Marty McFly, who says, I feel bad for Tristan because it seems like the cast didn't even do anything for him for his birthday, except vote him into elimination. They're all a bunch of cold-hearted monsters, I tell you. Now, I will say, I do think that this episode was edited out of order, because if we remember to the preview at the end of episode 8, it seems like somebody comes out during the bar scene, somebody comes out with a cake. And so I believe that the bar scene at the beginning of this episode actually takes place after the voting ceremony, but because they wanted to have that initial conversation between Danny and Tori and getting them on the same page and on the same wavelength moving forward into this game, they wanted to lead the episode with that, because how rare is it that we start the episode off in the bar scene? Normally it's after the voting ceremony. Amari comes in with a comment saying, definitely not one of my favorite episodes. It just went downhill after the daily. Completely agree. Some people would say it went downhill once we got to the daily, because it was not very fun. Because a lot of people said that in my comment section from my review and recap. Specifically, Tiffany A says, this challenge has to be one of the lamest and most simple things I've ever seen, and the way they were emphasizing how sick it made me cringe so hard. Yeah, TJ saying that this was the sickest daily challenge of the season, when I think the crane one was way better than this. That one was so much fun. That was so much fun to watch. This one, after a while, it was really lame. AENMMOY1322 says, why do I feel like Tori saw Emily wipe out and decided to do a little donut so she could also get the attention for wiping out? Kind of felt a little, I mean, I'll be skeptical, you know, I'll be a little suspicious about it. But that's just my nature. I'm normally skeptical on a lot of things. So I definitely had that thought as well. Ollie comes in with a comment saying, whilst the concept of the daily was great, it felt a little flat to me. Surely the real decider was who could get the key fastest and less about one's driving ability. That is true. However, Darrell did seem to take his foot off the pedal, which then led to them getting sent directly into elimination. But I do agree that it seemed like it was just all about jumping onto the other vehicle, grabbing the key as soon as possible, and then hitting the button. It was pretty lackluster. Colin coming in with a comment saying, the daily challenge was for sure a dope concept, especially visually, but I feel they could have made it more difficult. Like, make them grab 2 to 3 keys instead of just 1. The elimination would have been a more competitive daily. I almost wish they would have done the elimination for the daily, because I think that would have been a lot more gripping, having so many teams doing it. And I think that it would have shown which team has better communication rather than this daily, which wasn't that great. And on top of that, it's a movie promotion one. I mean, to have a movie promotion one not be really, really cool and exciting, a lot of people thought was lame and cringe. On top of that, just kind of makes the movie seem lame and cringe almost. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it. It wasn't a good cross promotion. ChargedStone96 says, I'm sick of seeing vets purposely excluding their partners from decisions or trying to ignore them. It's not fun, and Kaz deserved at least a heads up on the plan before it was enacted. Yes, 100%. I mean, you could just feel the hopelessness from Kaz trying to put the reasonings together to send Danny and Tori into elimination. She knew she was fighting an uphill battle that was almost impossible to get over, but to have her trying to reason with Jordan, and then Jordan just being like, not saying a single word, just being like, it was tough. It was tough to watch, and then she cried at the elimination, sending Tristan and Kellyanne in. It was just a bad situation overall. Chanel comes in with a comment saying, I'm giving Jordan the side eye for the whole episode. I don't like the way he stonewalled Kaz after the voting results were revealed. Then he had the audacity to cheer for Kellyanne and Tristan when he orchestrated having them thrown in. He gets a big thumbs down from me for his actions this week. I totally understand. I'm also not very excited to see how Kaz and Jordan are going to be next week, because it seems like Kaz is talking to Theo in the preview about everything that transpired from sending Tristan in and then having them leave. And I think she's going to feel a bit guilty. And then Jordan's going to come walking up and be like, as long as Tori's safe. And it's worrisome because they've had such good rapport with each other up to this point to get them to this point. And now it seems like the momentum that they're carrying with them could just fall down and absolutely crash into the rock bottom because of this mistrust that they're going to have with each other, this miscommunication with each other. And is this good this late in this game to kind of be doing this? I don't think it's good. I don't think you want anything screwing up the mojo of your team as we're moving forward into the game and almost into the finals. So yeah, it's frustrating. Bree comes in with a comment saying, such a hard elimination to watch. I wanted both of them to win. I kind of want to see Tori versus Jordan in elimination against each other. Honestly, I was hoping that we were going to get that last season with how they were fighting with each other. I thought it was like a golden opportunity to be like, well, they're already yelling at each other. Why not just try to send them in against each other between Tori and Devin and Jordan and Anissa, which then it's like Tori's double whammy of going up against not only her best friend, but her ex-fiance. And the final comment comes from Christina, who says, I miss hookups, house drama, and drunken nights. I need the 2000 challenge. The vibe was so much better. But I think what made the challenge great back then was the real world. The cast was made up of people who knew how to live their life out on camera. These people now are either stiff or production has lost their way in putting together a good final product. They'd rather play it safe. I think that's a lot of what people's criticisms are for this show, is that I don't know if they're like wanting to play it safe. I do think that they want to play it safe, but I also think that they're taking the challenge way too seriously. For players who really would like the camera on them, and not only that, but win money, but how do you get put on these casts? How do you get audience members liking you, being entertaining? And like you said, they want to play it safe. They're taking this game way too seriously, taking their friendships within this game and outside the game way too seriously. When you're on a TV show, make it entertaining. Kellyanne made it pretty interesting this season with how she was trying to stir things up, make some power moves. The same thing with all the drama between Danny and Tori. This was the first episode where that they didn't really have any drama between them, that they're not trying to be forces against each other, that they're working with each other, and as well as Kellyanne getting eliminated because the numbers are now so skewed in one area that it's now, I think, going to make the game a lot more predictable. But with only a handful of teams left, I mean, predictability is just kind of in the realm of where we're going because there's only so few options, so few numbers, and then so few episodes left until we're actually in the finals. So far, this season has been pretty good. I think this episode in particular was a lot blander than the rest, but we'll have to see how the rest of the season is going to go. Maybe it'll end off in a bang, and it's just a little bit of a slump right now, but we'll have to wait and see. That is it for this Tiny Table Talk for this week for the Challenge World Championship. What do you think about this episode? Let me know down in the comment section below. What do you think about the house dynamics? Who is at the bottom of the house hierarchy and who's at the top for you? Let me know down in the comment section below. Who are your MVPs and LVPs? Let me know down in the comment section below. Anything you felt about this episode or future episodes or how the season is going to finish up, let me know anything and everything down in the comment section below. I want to give a special shout out, thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who is watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really soon with more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.